And welcome to our bi-weekly customer success webinar series. Today's session is entitled Network Insight on VMware Cloud. These sessions are bi-weekly and available via Zoom invite as well as streamed live on Twitch TV. Alternating weeks will be a Twitch office hour session hosted by the customer success team discussing many aspects of our VMware Cloud offering. My name is Matt Vanveld, and I'm a customer success architect on the VMware Cloud customer success team. And on behalf of the VMware team, I would like to personally thank you for investing your time with us today. Network Insight is our SaaS-based Network Insight is now available on VMware Cloud. We will look at the features and functions of this integration, which includes more secure, migrate, and ensure the availability of your apps with Network Insight. Sorry, I think I had a little typo there in the script, but yes. Today we'll be discussing the following topics. We'll look a little bit at how you can plan app security and migration, look at optimizing troubleshoot networks, talk a little bit about NSX microsegmentation, and how you can troubleshoot app connectivity. Now I'd like to introduce today's speakers. We've got Sajan Leon. He drives the product strategy for VMware's Network Insight product line with focus on VMware on Cloud. Network visibility and security. He is a product management marketing professional with 15 plus years experience across a variety of roles from software engineering to product management/marketing, building technology products. We also have with us Gaurav Sharma, who will be running the demo, I believe, later on. So the last little piece that I have before I hand it over is a little bit of housekeeping. Before I start, I'd like to remind all guests that they are muted. Please post questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom window, and we will respond to them throughout the session. You can also ask them live on the Twitch stream, which I'll be reading. And at the end of this, there is also a poll for everybody to do. So hopefully I can remember to get people to do that. I've been forgetting to do that in the last few weeks. So with that, Sajan, all over to you.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the introduction. And a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this webinar. As Matt has introduced, today's focus is to introduce the product VMware Network Insight and how VMware Network Insight can help you on your accelerate application migration, security, and network visibility, especially on the VMware Cloud on AWS, or in short form, we call as VMware Cloud. So there will be a special focus on the VMware Cloud on AWS or VMware Cloud. As Matt introduced, I am a product manager who drives the roadmap of Network Insight. And Gaurav Sharma is the engineering lead, and he will be giving the demo for the session. Just a quick check whether everyone is able to hear me well before I get into the next slide. All good?
Good to me.
Good. Okay, so in today's session, this is the agenda which we are going to cover. It's a very short and sweet. I will be taking the first 10 to 15 minutes to introduce you to VMware Cloud on AWS and what are the use cases that we are going to support, and slight bit of a bit of an architecture discussion over there. And I will hand over to Gaurav Sharma slash Prahlad. I think they have prepared a good demo, and we could go over that for another 30 minutes, and the last 15 minutes will be for the Q&A. With this, let's get started. Today, if you see, today we live in an era of any application, anywhere, and application is your new network. And one of the critical piece, as you see in this slide, which ties up all these different pieces, is the VMware NSX. And VMware NSX is an easy button for connecting and protecting the workload for businesses, developers, and so on, right? And the VMware Network Insight is the product that enables you to get that visibility across your virtual cloud network. Thus, it enables your application migration and security planning. Today, so with this, I'm introducing the VMware Network Insight, and you could see that our key focus will be on the public cloud, or what we say as the VMware Cloud. And we'll be focusing on how the VMware Network Insight can help you in application migration. When I say the application migration, hey, VMware Cloud or is a new SDDC which is running on the AWS. It is the same software stack or the SDDC stack. Now, if you are looking at migrating the application, you need to understand the application dependency first and what are the flows happening in there and how you can effectively uh, move this application dependency together to the VMC SDDC. Once you move there, you also need to ensure that, hey, whatever the security which you have added, that need to be added in the new VMC SDDC too, and and also provide the NSX related operations which helps in the network. And just to give you give you some more know about the product, today 2,000 plus customers has put their trust on the VMware Network Insight. These customers span across, as you see on the slide deck, they span across different verticals. And network insight help in secure, migrate, and availability of mission critical business applications. And the how part of this you will see in the upcoming demo, which Ravan Prahlad will try to showcase that. Um, I also want to highlight here is that network insight among these customers, network insight is available in two type of consumption models. Two type of consumption model, which means that one is you can install the network insight on your on premises, or you can use it as software as service. The software as service is the newer, and it is the newest trend, and it is getting more traction in the market. The reason being, it is more easy to install and use, and the VMware take care of the operations of that particular VM, right? This is getting more traction, and we will be focusing more on in today's demo is with the network inside software as a service.
So just to pipe in a quick question and then maybe just add some color around that. So, what the question did pop up. So VNRI is our on-prem, and Network Insight is our SaaS offering. Now, the SaaS offering can monitor both on-prem and VMware Cloud, as so can VNRI can monitor on-prem and on cloud. It's just the method of delivering it is different. The functionality of the product is essentially the same. Is that a correct statement?
That's a correct statement. The functionality is all same. There is no difference between the functionality difference between the on-prem model and the SaaS model. That's correct.
Yeah, all the changes is how you consume it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
So this I just want to highlight the journey of a customer, how it is involved. There are two scenarios here. Let's discuss the first scenario of the journey of a customer who has an on-prem data center, and their objective is to start using VMware Cloud, right? And what is the journey might look like? On your day zero, you want to assess your environment. That involves quantify your east to west traffic routed via switch traffic, identify the top talkers, you define applications and tires. So we just say that it is the assess part, right? This slide is not, it is also is a very generic slide, as you can say, hey, you can assume this journey for and on your regular operations also, but I'm making a scenario here for how is that transition for a customer from your on-prem to the VMware Cloud. The first and foremost thing is to assess your environment, which is what is application dependency that is running on your on-prem. And you might or may not have the NSX, right? NSX in your environment, you may or may not have. If it is there, you could understand what are the firewall recommendations, and you can implement that firewall recommendation. You can micro segment your uh, um, uh, applications, and also the next day to operations on your on-prem is manage and scale. And comes the once you understand this environment, hey, comes the next one, the extend to public and hybrid cloud. And that's where the journey of a customer to move your application, select one of the application and move to the VMware cloud. So the VMware Network Insights help you to understand that the application dependency, and you would be able to move together to there, and you would be able to understand once you move the application, hey, what is happening there. So once the application is moved to the VMC, again, it is a day zero for the VRNI in perspective to that data source. That is where the scenario two comes. A customer can start the application from VMware Cloud. It may not, it is not always necessary to migrate your application from on-prem to VMware Cloud. It could be, you start the application there. In that case, again, hey, you want to understand with an application perspective, what is the communication happening, and you have optimized your environment well or not. You would like to manage and operate your VMC if any alerts are happening, or you want to understand what is happening with NSXT. And VMware Network Insight is going to help, and you will see more about this in the upcoming demo. Next, I would like to touch base here a bit about the deployment architecture. Key points to see is that all of this, there are two components in the network insight. One is the platform, and the second one is the proxy. Both are a virtual appliance model. You can install in minutes, results in hours. It means that you install both and add these data sources, you get the details. So as you see in this diagram, the first one is the network insight proxy. And with this proxy, which actually resides near to the data source. Now, when we look at in specific to VMware on AWS Cloud, or the VMC, in acronym I call it as a VMC, is that the proxy needs to be in the VMC. The proxy is in the compute gateway of the VMC. And now basically the communication is through the HTTPS 443. And when the NSXT DFW is enabled, DFW IP fix is enabled, there will be also a communication through the UDP, which the IP fix will be sent out to 2055. So the same network inside which you are using today can be extended for the VMware on AWS Cloud or the VMC. Right? And the next part, the platform, it can be put it in two ways. You can look at it in two ways. You can either put the platform on the VMware Cloud itself, which may not be really needed. The best way is you can use the platform of the SaaS format. Right. Another option is also there, which I haven't not especially mentioned, is on your on-prem. So that enables you to use monitoring your VMC in a SaaS format. One of the key questions keep coming whenever we talk about the SaaS is that how secure is the data for a network inside customer? So I have shown on your left hand side, what you see is your current customer data center, or the VMware on Cloud SDDC, where the proxy will be residing, and the VMware Cloud Service, that is where the platform component of the network insight will be residing. And you see that what are the data we collect. We collect about your infrastructure and flow information, source and destination IP, machine name, routing table, firewall table, interface stats, etc. We don't collect any of your user data, example username, or data inside a workload. So we don't understand any of those details. And the data which we collect in your data center or the cloud SDDC is that, and we transmit it through the HTTPS 443, and it is encrypted. So it's HTTPS, it is encrypted. And the VMware Cloud Service, or the platform, which is sitting on your AWS, The data is encrypted. The duration of the storage usually for an active account is 1 to 13 months, and less than for an expired account, it is less than 30 days. It has multi-factor authentication and no third-party access. Right. So that's how the secure is, and your data is secure, and you can trust on our platform. With this, I will hand it over to the demo. Gaurav, and
Hello.
what do you do? And if
Hello.
any questions is there, you can put it on the chat while Gaurav is giving the demo. So before Gaurav starts the demo, in the demo, what Gaurav is going to show you is that he will show you how to add VMC as a data source. He will show how to monitor and understand the VMC environment using Network Insight, and then he will start showing about the application, the different use cases which I introduced in this session. With this, I hand it over to Gaurav. I'll stop sharing.
All right, while we're getting that set up, yeah, like we mentioned, go ahead and if you have any questions, you can put them in chat. We might not get to them right away, but I'll be keeping track of them so that we can pop in whenever we can, and we can see the demo up and live. So go ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome. And so I'll start with the demo of Network Insight, which will showcase the VMC support that we have added recently. And I'll start with the Network Insight homepage. This is the homepage that I have logged into. And before getting into Network Insight and what all features that we have for VMC support, let me start with where the customer will get the access to Network Insight. Let's say if the customer goes to vmc.vmware.com, on the right hand side, you can go to console and uh, on VMware Service Console, there are different tiles that you can see. And one of the tile is for the Network Insight. As you can see, Network Insight request access. If you click on it, it will pop up a form, which if you fill in, you'll get an email which will have all the description of how to register for Network Insight. And once you are on board Network Insight, using the same CSP URL, you can log in to NI service, and it will take you to this homepage. Now, this homepage is the Network Insight homepage, which has different features. As you can see, it has got a search URL, search, and it has different shortcuts, which is going to take you to the objects that we have in Network Insight. I'll come to that objects parts or constructs that we show in Network Insight. They are different, I will say different things that we show up, what's happening in your data center. These are the normal day to operations kind of metrics that we show up upfront on the homepage. So in a nutshell, this is the homepage that we have for Network Insight. On the left hand side, we have a navigation which have shortcuts to different main use cases or the features that we have in Network Insight. Now coming to the VMC, in Network Insight, the very first step that a customer has to perform is to add the data source. The data source could be vCenter, N6 Manager, or physical devices like that. And if we go to the setting page, uh, let me click on the setting page, and it will take me to the data source page, which is going to show all the data source that has been added so far. Before going to it, I would like to show the install and support page. Let's say if the customer logs into Network Insight for the very first time, this is the platform that is going to show up there. Here you can add the collector VM. So this is the second process in the whole workflow, wherein the collector VM needs to be deployed in the VMC SDDC of the customer. It is a link which, if you click on, you will be able to download the OVA of the Network Insight collector. Now, once this OVA has been downloaded in your VMC SDDC, you should be able to deploy it using the normal vCenter in your compute gateway. Once that is being done, the shared secret key that you can copy from here is used to pair up the collector in the VMC SDDC with the NI platform that you can see here. Once the pairing has been done between the network inside collector and the platform, you should be able to see the collector VM reference over here. So all the collector VM, which has been deployed in your various VMC SDDC, will be shown here. Once that has been done, now you can go to the accounts and data source
So
page.
just to jump in
And
real quick on you here, so
yeah,
this is that's a real easy step. So a lot of people kind of
mm,
wonder about this. So this is just like an OVA deploy. It'll prompt for all of that information. It'll prompt for you to put that key in. There's really not uh, a lot to it. The other question I had too is that this is like most of our SaaS services as well, where there is a free trial if they wanted to request one. Is that correct?
right, right. So that's a 30-day trial that we have. A user can opt for that. And yeah,
All right, thanks. Keep
yeah.
going.
All right. So once you're on this page, which is accounts and data source, uh, there is a tab on the right hand side, add data source. If you click on it, it will take you to all the data sources that are supported within Network Insight. As you can see in public cloud section, we have VMware Cloud on AWS vCenter and VMware Cloud on AWS NSX Manager. If you click on adding the vCenter, it is going to ask you a few things like the collector, which is to be used to collect the data, which is obviously the collector that you have deployed in your VMC SDDC, the IP address or FQDN of the vCenter, the usual username and password. Once you validate it, Network Insight is going to validate whether the username and password being provided are valid or not. uh, Once that is being done, you just submit it and the data source for vCenter is added. It's as simple as that. And once that has been done, Network Insight collector will start collecting the different configuration data from the vCenter, like the virtual machines, the host, the cluster, all sort of objects that you can see in vCenter are their configuration and runtime data has been collected by Network Insight. Now, once the vCenter has been added, the next step would be to add the NSX manager, which is on the VMC. If you click on it, again, there are a few forms to be filled, which is to provide the vCenter in your VMC. Once you select the vCenter, it is going to take up the collector automatically. You don't have to provide it again, or you don't have to memorize which collector to be, provide here. And the next input is the IP address or FQDN of the NSX manager, and then uh, the CSP refresh token corresponding to the NSX manager. Once that is being done and you validate has been done. After that, there is one more step, which if a user wants, they can enable it. If not, uh, uh, the step is to enable the DFW IP fix. Now,
So,
what this
so sorry,
enable?
just to jump in real quick
Yeah,
here on you.
sure.
So the IP address, the FQDN, and the CSP refresh token, but both be obtained through your VMware Cloud on AWS console. So for people kind of wondering
Right.
where that information is coming from, it's in the console, and one's in the support page, and the other one you can find in multiple different ways. Just wanted to kind of
Exactly.
clarify that for people because I know when I installed it, I kind of looked at that a couple times. And went, hey,
Exactly.
where
If
do
you
I
go
get
to
this?
the My account and there is an API token, so here is the refresh token. So using this refresh token, just provide this refresh token here, and IP address FQDN is provided in the support page of your VMware console. Use that IP address FQDN. Once you validate, now the next step is to enable DFW. Now this is the very important step in the whole workflow. If you enable DFW API fix, what it does, it allows Network Insight to get the network flow from NSX manager. And what it means is all the network flow that is happening in your VMC SDDC or within the VMC SDDC or from VMC SDDC to outside or from outside to VMC SDDC is being collected by Network Insight and processed and shown in a more correlated way with respect to the different objects or the different construct that we have got from vCenter, be it the virtual machine, be it the objects from the NSX manager, like security group, the groups or the segments. So all that has been correlated and shown it to the user. Once that has been done and submitted, Network Insight will start collecting all the configuration and runtime information from NSX Manager as well. Now, coming to the search part, now let's say the vCenter and the NSX Manager has been added. They are in Network Insight platform. We have a Google's like search, which is going to actually give you all the details about any object or any construct that you have in a data center, be it virtual machine or host or a group, security group or a segment or a provider, like that. I mean, anything that is related to a vCenter or NSX manager will be searchable here. Let's say, for example, I search VM, right? And the best part of this search is that it is auto suggestive and it is auto suggestive. So you don't have to memorize whatever suggestion that it gives. You just follow that, and there are properties that you can further filter it out, like VMware. There are different properties, be the configuration or runtime properties of these objects, like virtual machine or host. That has been there in the search, where you can select it and filter for further slice and dicing. Once you enter this search, the search result is going to give a list view. Now this list view contains all the highly valuable information upfront available here, like what is the IP address, what is the disk, what is the data center, what is the memory, what is the firewall status, what is the network address, how many VNICs it has, what is the power state. So different kind of information which is highly valuable as for a user is available right front. And also on the left hand side, you can see add more filters. So there are 149 different configuration and runtime properties that Network Insight compute, not just compute, captures from vCenter, and also it correlates the different properties that it gets from NSX Manager, like security group, right? So which all security group this particular VM is part of, which security tag this virtual machine is part of, all of that has been computed, and the business logic has been applied on it and is shown it to the customer, so that you don't have to look into your blueprints or your definitions in your vCenter and your NSX manager to see like how to correlate the data that you're getting from two different sources. One is vCenter and another one is NSX manager. Now, these are the very simple searches that I'm showing you. VM or the, let's say, VMC segments. VMC segment is nothing but the layer 2 network that we have in VMC. In NSX on-premise, NSXT on-premise, it is being called as logical switch. In VMC, it's called as segment. So once you search, it's going to show you all the details that we have captured over here. Now, this is what I have covered in and the basic searches that we have. There's a long list of different constructs or objects that we, or the entity that we support with VMC, VMC firewall, VMC segment, VMC. Okay, let me just type it out: VMC firewall, VMC group, VMC NSX manager, policy-based VPN, VMC events, and all those things that we, the entities that we support in Network Insight. Now, I'll move ahead with the use cases. Two main important use cases that we are trying to solve here with Network Insight. The first case is the migration and plan microsegmentation. So as Sajan mentioned that in migration use case, the customer would want to have their security policies being intact while they are migrating their workload VMs from the on-premise to the VMC SDDC. Now, how to do that? Because on the on-premise, it's going to be either NSXT manager or NSX manager. The security firewall rules will, security construct and the firewall rules will be configured there. Now on the VMC side, you have a policy manager, NSX policy manager. How to create or configure these policy or intent-based policy intent rules in the VMC side, so that the security policy should remain intact. For that, what I'm going to do is I have already saved the search. Now this is again a feature wherein if you have a search, you can actually save it, and all those saved search is going to pop up here. Now showing you the plan security use case that we have. Let's say I want, as a user, I want to plan my VMC segment, VMC NSXT, and I want to see like what are the workloads that are there on this particular segment, and what are the different other endpoints that the virtual machines on this segment are talking to, whether they are on the VMC or on the on-premise, which in that case it would be a hybrid, flows. So this is what the topology, plan topology is going to show. We call it as a plan topology donut. There are different criteria that a user can select, whether to group this result by layer 2 network or an application tier, which can be defined in network insight, or a security group, or a VM, or there are different grouping criteria that a user can select. But I'll come to the main part here. Let's say if I want to click and see what are the different flows that are there. So these are service endpoints that it is showing you. If you click on flow, it is going to show you the incoming and outgoing flows, any external services that has been accessed. Now the best part is the recommended firewall rules, and this is what the customer wants. Here it is going to show you the firewall rule that Network Insight is recommending. And if there is any firewall rule in either the on-premise NSX manager or VMC NSX manager that is matching this flow. So in this case, Network Insight is recommending to create this firewall rule, which says VMC NSXT, destination is other physical on ports or services as 22SH and 443, protocol TCP, action is allowed, because there are three flows that we have seen. And it has also found a corresponding firewall rule on the VMC side. Let's say if it was not there, it would have shown empty. But and if the matching rule was there on the on-premise side, it would have shown the on-premise NSX manager firewall rule. Now it is a way wherein you can start migrating your workload VMs to VMC and see if the flow is protected or unprotected. If it is unprotected, use Network Insight to get the recommended firewall rule, create that firewall rule in NSX Policy Manager. Now it becomes an iterative process. You will see that now the firewall rule that you have created in Policy Manager in VMC, now that is being shown here as a matching rule. And the flow is now being shown as a protected flow instead of an unprotected flow. It is also going to show you if there are any drop flows. That means if you have created any deny rule, and that deny rule is dropping any flow, those flows are also shown here. So this is going to cover the first use case, which is migration use case, keeping the security policies intact, and the planning microsegmentation in case if you have a purely VMC SDDC and you're starting afresh there.
So
Any,
just to add a little bit
yeah.
of color to that. So every customer that we always talk to, and I think this is probably echoed by you guys as well and everybody in the call, that they think they know what servers are talking to each other over what ports. But it's always fun to kind of bring this up for them because they always discover something. And that's either something that's not supposed to be there or something that is required that they didn't know about. Because I know from my personal experience with customers, you know, a lot of times you ask the app guys, hey, what ports do you need for all this stuff? And getting that information is incredibly difficult if it's even there. And this makes that so much simpler because you can actually see what's happening. The other part of that is in VMware Cloud on AWS specifically, we start with the zero trust model. Everything is denied, which a lot of the common stuff that we come into our support ticket is, hey, I can't ping this, or hey, I can't get this communication, and 90% of the time it's a firewall rule that they didn't configure. Mostly because they're used to their on-prem world where things were a lot more open. So having this tool will greatly assist with, like I said, is that those successful migrations as opposed to migrating everything in and then trying to figure out why it's not working afterwards.
Exactly, Matt. Thanks for adding that. Now, moving on to the second use case that we have is the network visibility and troubleshooting part. Um, um, the network insight has a major feature, which is the VM to VM part. Now, consider that in an environment, be it solely VMC SDDC or in hybrid environment where you have VMC and on-premise, or VMC and AWS, native AWS. Now, in that case, let's say if you want to troubleshoot what is the path between two endpoints, where one endpoint is in VMC SDDC and the other endpoint could be either in VMC SDDC or on-premise NSXT or NSXP environment, or it could be the EC2 instance of the native AWS. In that case, normally the complaints or the tickets are raised based on that, my application is slow or I'm not able to access this particular application. And as an admin, we know that okay, this application comprises of these VMs, or even if let's say that is not the case, network insight can help in creating the application boundaries. That is a separate use case that we have. I will focus on the network visibility as of now. So in network visibility, you have one endpoint and another endpoint. Now you want to see what are the different network objects that will fall in between the path. If these two VMs has to talk, what are the logical parts that will be there, and if there are any problems in those different logical parts that lie in between these two VMs. So there is a search that we have, and also a shortcut on the left navigation path, wherein you can see if you click on the path and give the two endpoints, it is going to show you, take you to this dashboard, which will show you the path that we render. Now on this path, I have chosen VMware VPN VM1 to VMware VM1 Combi host 202. Here VPN VM1 is on the VMC SDDC, and VM1 Combi host 202 is on the NSXT on-premise environment. Here you can see that we have shown you the path that is going from a VM in SDDC, VMC SDDC to the VMC segment, to the network tier CGW, and then to the provider gateway, out from the tunnel, VPN tunnel. So this is the VPN tunnel between the provider and the NSX edge node, NSXT edge node. There you can see the tier 0 service router. Then it is going to the service 0 DR, then going to again the tier 1 router, and on COM-B logical switch, it is going to the VM, which is the another endpoint on the NSXT side. Now the best part is that once this path has been shown, as you can see on the both the VM side, there is a firewall icon. Now this firewall, if you click on this firewall icon, it is going to give you all those firewall rules, configured firewall rules that might get applied if these two VMs are going to talk. Now, what it means is that let's say if you have thousands or 10,000s of rules being configured, but there is only one rule which will be applied if these two VMs talk. Network Insight is going to show you exactly that one firewall rule. Which is the firewall rule that will be applied in so here the firewall rule could be either in the NSX distributed firewall, or let's say on the on-premise side you have Palo Alto or Checkpoint, all those firewall, but it will show only those firewall rules which will be applied. And the whole path that you can see, if there are any problems in the path that we detect, we are going to raise the alert there itself, and so that you can get to know like if there is any impacted component which is like in between the path. And sorry. So these are the path detail. If you click on the path details, it is going to give the legend and show you like what are the different components that lie in between and their numbering. This is just for the ease purpose. Uh, okay, so this is the path topology. The another one that we have is the underlay topology, but that is shown from that VM to the VMC segment. The further visibility that is there is not to the cloud admin. So that's the reason that we couldn't get any underlay the physical that we have on the VMC side. And the path ports, if there are any path ports, that also that we list up here. Now in a nutshell, this is all that we have, which shows the VM to VM path.
I gotta say, I love that.
Any questions?
I love that little
Yeah.
graphic. Albeit, I'm assuming the packet goes faster than that. So
Yeah, and also in the lower if sections, if you see the flows, right now there are no allowed or denied flows. Sorry for that, but if let's say if there was any flows happening between these two VMs, those flows will be shown whether those were allowed or denied. If there are any alerts that are being raised, it will be shown in the event section. Any path port metrics, so all the relevant information that is required for from the network visibility and the network monitoring between two endpoints, all that is available in the single view. Any answer for?
yeah, like I said, if anybody has any questions, they can put in the chat, either Twitch or on Zoom. I haven't
All
seen
right.
any here so
So
far, but
fine, no problem. So the last part that I'm going to show and touch upon is the
so we just had a question pop in here
for
real
that
quick.
manager
Just had a question pop in.
WAP
Okay.
fix.
So the question
Right.
here.
So
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, the question is it possible to see display the current routing tables for each managed router?
Okay, so the question here is, and I can recommend firewall rules based on the flows it sees, but can it go ahead and configure those for the user? All right. So Network Insight is mostly a read-only product. There is no enforcement and that is allowed as of now from Network Insight to either the NSX manager or the policy manager. So to your question, the answer is no. From directly from Network Insight, these rules cannot be configured.
Yeah, and I think that they're working on some stuff around that area. And we also had another question here
Mhm.
around can we display the routing tables for the managed routers?
Okay, so the routing tables for network and the provider. Okay, so not here, and the reason being that the routing table is happening behind the scene. All those routing routes being configured and created behind the scene, those are not even visible to the user. So displaying it to the user would create more confusion, as these are not visible even on the console or the UI that a user is going to log in. So it is going to create more confusion as what all these routes are there. So that's the reason that these routes are not shown over the network and the provider here, because these are like the internal internal things that has been created within the NSXT, which is not visible to the end user.
Okay, I think you can keep going. Thanks for that.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing that I'm going to showcase is the flow. Let's say if the DFW API fix was enabled in the NSX Manager data source, Network Insight would start collecting the flow information. And if you click on flows, what is going to show you is a list view of all the flows that we have collected. As you can see, looking at this screen, the IP addresses, the name of the VM associated with that, and the port, right? And the exact timing at which the flow happened, how many bytes, what was the source, what is the destination, and if there was any, source or destination security group that these two endpoints are part of it. What is the destination city? If we have that GeoDB been enabled, and if there are any firewall rules that we have detected, because these flows are being got from the NSX manager. So whether the whether the flow is protected or not. So all that information is readily available there. There is a filter on the left hand side. There are a lot of properties that we compute, that we and correlate from the flow and the other data that we get from the NSX Manager and the vCenter. So all that is being correlated and given. Here's an option for end user to select, like how many bytes, how many packets, those kind of things are readily available. What are the different clusters or hosts these flows being part of? What are the different layer 2 networks? So, if there are any different, what kind of different security groups or security tags. So all that information, what was the firewall action and what was the firewall rule. So all that information or properties related to the flow is readily available here. You can just select it and see what was the allowed or denied flows. If it was a denied flows, which is a firewall rule which is blocking that flow. So all that information is readily available, and that is searchable. That is the more important part. So uh, that's all from my side from the demo perspective. I will hand it over to Sajan, and yeah, I'm here to question. I'm here to answer any question that you have. I'll stop sharing now.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that. So I think also just to touch a quick point that one of the asks that we get a lot on the VMware Cloud side of the house is because there is a network egress charge. That's something that's always kind of top of mind to people, and Network Insight was one of the things that people were waiting for. So some clarification for people. Network Insight, or sorry, no, just got supported on VMware Cloud about a month ago, give or take. Is that relatively right? Um, and
Yeah.
so that's one of the key features that I think a lot of people are looking for is if you end up getting a big bill from AWS or want to prevent a big egress bill, this can assist you to see what virtual machines are talking a lot outside for your egress traffic and help you to either try to prevent it or bill internally or whatever your mechanism is. But this is the tool that I think we would recommend for that kind of visibility to be able to understand where all the network traffic is going and what may be costing you money.
Exactly, Matt.
So I think we have time for some questions. I don't know. We don't have any currently up in the chat. But like I said, so one of the key questions was yes. So around the firewall rules, it's mostly a suggestion thing, and you kind of do have to then go in and create them yourselves. But at least it gives you a good framework to do it, and I think that's something that we're probably going to be working on as well in the future. But uh, it mostly helps, like I said, just for that purely migration uh, type of activity where you're trying to figure out how to. This is the best tool to get you successfully migrated without having to troubleshoot all of those little issues of what servers are talking to which over what ports and all those kind of things like I mentioned before. I just can't emphasize enough how big of a thing that is for people's planning when they're going to migrate into VMware Cloud. So do you have any other comments, Zidon, or because I don't think we have any more questions, so you must have done a really good job answering everything without people asking.
Yep. So these are like good questions which is coming across, especially on this firewall enforcement. And we do understand that that's a needed one, and we are looking at that, from a product perspective, how we can have a smooth way of putting it across, right? Um, so that's we currently looking at it. Any more questions you can choose, but while you typing or putting across the question, the key takeaway is that now with this support, now you have one more, now you have another uh, product in your hand to help in your migration activity, or to solve your problems. Lack of visibility, now if you say about lack of visibility in VMC, I'm not saying that it is there, but if you think that that's where this product is going to, tool slash product is going to help you. And as you see in the slide, you could always request for a free 30-day evaluation for the Network Insight service from this particular. You can learn more about this from there. And there is always a hands-on lab where you can try out yourself at your pace, understand the product, and get back to us. Right. So I would say if you know, even if you don't have any questions now, please feel free to reach out to us. We would be able to help you out in this journey to do this evaluation.
Excellent. So I think, yeah, I haven't seen any questions come along. I really do appreciate your guys' time and jumping in on pretty short notice. I apologize to the Network Insight team for doing that to them, but very good presentation. I think there's some good clarity there about what it can do and how the interface works and kind of the cool features and stuff there. Again, I really want to thank you guys for your time. I also like to thank everybody for attending today. There is a poll option at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you see it at the bottom here, if you could, get a chance to go ahead and click that and give us, your feedback on how you felt of today's presentation and should probably launch the polling. That'd probably help. And again, like I said, we try to be very interactive here. We'd like to bring up topics and go through things. So, like I said, the Network Insight thing just recently kind of became supported on VMware Cloud. So we try to be timely on new features and new functionalities as they come out, so that you guys can have as much information and see all of the cool things we're working on and be able to kind of get the latest and greatest from us. So, but if you have any other questions or topics that you want us to cover, always feel free to suggest them to me either on Twitter at vcloudmatt. We do have an email address, cloudcs@vmware.com, that you can email ideas to us or email me directly or whatever have you, and we'll try to address them in the future. Or we won't try, we will address them in the future. Next week, we will be back with another office hours, which is an even more informal webinar where we cover any kind of topics. If you guys join that one's going to be exclusively on Twitch TV/VMware Cloud. And that you can come in, ask us any questions you want. We do it very free flowing, we'll answer. We'll try to demo anything that you want to look at. That will be at the same time next week. Then the following week after that, so 2 weeks from today, we're going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to be going over our DR as a service offering, which is, I think, something we covered briefly in the past. We're actually having GS Kalsa from that business unit to come in and demonstrate a whole bunch of stuff for us, because there's been a lot of new stuff that's happened in the site recovery world as well. So with that, I'm going to end it. And again, I really, really appreciate everybody's time, and thanks for coming out, and we'll hopefully see everybody next week. Thanks.